The room was buzzing with quiet chatter and the soft rustle of programs as people settled into their seats for the piano recital. Among the well-dressed crowd sat a woman who seemed almost invisible, a simple, unassuming figure dressed plainly, with no flashy jewelry or expensive gown to catch the eye. While the audience eagerly awaited the famous Maestro's performance, hardly anyone noticed her sitting quietly in the back, her hands resting nervously on her lap. The air was thick with expectation, but no one expected that this forgotten woman would soon change everything. She wasn't a famous pianist or a trained musician. In fact, most would have overlooked her entirely, thinking she had no place on this grand stage. But when she was finally invited to play, the room held its breath. The silence was sharp, almost fragile. And then, as her fingers touched the piano keys, something extraordinary happened. A melody so pure and unexpected poured out, leaving the maestro himself stunned and the audience frozen in disbelief. What was it about her music that captured everyone's attention so suddenly? Who was this simple woman, and why had she been ignored for so long? As the notes lingered in the air, the story behind her unexpected talent began to unfold, a story of quiet strength, hidden dreams, and the power of a single moment to change everything. Stay with us, because this is just the beginning. What happened next will surprise you and might just change how you think about talent, opportunity, and the music that lives inside us all. No one really knew much about her. She had quietly arrived in the town a few months ago, moving into a small, weathered apartment near the edge of the neighborhood. Rumors spread. Some said she was a music teacher, others guessed she was just someone who loved to play for herself. But nobody expected her to be invited to perform alongside the renowned Maestro, who was known for his exacting standards and his preference for polished professional pianists. Her life had been far from easy. She carried with her a past filled with struggles and sacrifices that few could imagine. Music was her refuge, her secret language, a way to escape the noise of the world and speak from her heart without words. But until tonight, her melodies had been heard only by the empty walls of her apartment. As she sat at the grand piano, memories seemed to flood her mind. Each note she played wasn't just a sound but a story, a whisper of her past and the dreams she had almost given up on. The crowd was silent, captivated by the raw emotion flowing from her fingertips. Even the maestro, whose face had been unreadable moments before, now wore an expression of genuine awe. Yet, questions remained. Why had she hidden her talent for so long? What had held her back from stepping into the spotlight until now? And what would happen after this unexpected performance? The room waited, caught between disbelief and hope, as the woman prepared to play her next melody, one that might change everything forever. Whispers began to ripple through the crowd, mixing curiosity with disbelief. Some spectators questioned how someone so unassuming could hold such depth in her playing. Others wondered about the maestro's sudden silence. Was he truly amazed, or was there something else behind his stunned expression? Backstage, murmurs of doubt stirred among the other performers who had spent years honing their craft under the spotlight. How could this simple woman, unknown and overlooked, shake the foundation of their carefully built reputations? Meanwhile, the maestro himself struggled with an unexpected mix of admiration and uncertainty. He had seen countless pianists come and go, some brilliant, others mediocre, but none had ever moved him quite like this. Was this a sign of untapped genius, or just a fleeting moment of luck? His pride battled with his growing respect, and deep inside, a quiet fear began to take hold. What if the world was about to shift in ways he could no longer control? Across town, the woman's neighbors had their own stories about her. Some spoke of the late nights when they heard faint piano melodies drifting through the walls, full of longing and sorrow. Others recalled seeing her carry a battered music book, worn from years of use, like a treasured companion. No one truly understood the sacrifices she had made or the battles she fought within herself to finally step into the light. As the next melody approached, the tension in the room thickened. The woman's fingers hovered over the keys, poised to reveal another piece of her soul. Every eye was on her now, waiting for the next chapter of this unexpected story to unfold. And yet, beneath the surface, questions swirled, questions that would challenge what everyone thought they knew about talent, success, and the power of a single moment. The woman took a deep breath, the spotlight casting a soft glow on her face as the audience held its collective breath. Every eye in the room was fixed on her now, not just as a performer, but as a mystery waiting to be unraveled. The Maestro sat quietly at the side, his usual confident demeanor replaced by an intensity that suggested something far deeper was unfolding. The air felt electric, charged with anticipation, as if the next melody would reveal more than just music. Her fingers hovered just above the keys, trembling slightly. This was more than a recital. It was a moment of truth. Behind her calm exterior, a storm of emotions raged: doubt, hope, fear, and a desperate desire to be seen, really seen, for who she was. The years of silence and obscurity had led to this single instant where everything could change or shatter completely. From the back of the room, murmurs grew louder, the audience caught between disbelief and curiosity. Could this simple woman really hold the power to challenge everything they thought they knew about music and talent? Even the Maestro, who had dedicated his life to mastering every nuance of the piano, seemed on the edge of surrendering to the moment. Suddenly, her hands fell onto the keys, and the first notes poured out, soft, haunting, and full of raw emotion. The melody twisted and turned like a story being told for the first time, pulling everyone deeper into her world. The tension was unbearable now, the room vibrating with an energy that seemed almost unreal. As the music swelled, the question lingered: would this final melody be the moment that changed everything, or would the silence after speak louder than any note? As the last note hung in the air, a heavy silence fell over the room, thick with awe and something else, something unspoken. Just as the woman prepared to stand and leave the stage, the Maestro rose from his seat, his eyes locked on her with a mix of astonishment and something like urgency. But instead of applauding, he stepped forward and whispered something only she could hear. The crowd leaned in, straining to catch a word, but the secret between them remained hidden. Then, just as the applause was about to break, a sharp voice cut through the room. One of the other performers, known for their rivalry with the Maestro, stood up and challenged the moment. "Who is she really?" the voice demanded. "Where does she come from, and why hasn't she been part of the music world before now? This doesn't add up." The room shifted, the earlier wonder twisting into suspicion. The whispers grew louder, questions flooding every corner. Had the woman been hiding a secret? Was her talent genuine, or was this some kind of elaborate trick? The tension in the air was now electric, not just about the music, but about truth and deception. Backstage, the woman's calm mask began to crack. She glanced at the Maestro, whose face now showed worry rather than admiration. Something was at stake far beyond this recital, something tied to her past, to the choices she'd made, and to the risks she was now forced to face. The spotlight wasn't just on her fingers anymore. It was on her story, on the mystery she carried like a shadow. And the question burning in everyone's mind was clear. How far was she willing to go to prove herself, and what price would she pay if the truth came out? The woman took a slow breath, her eyes scanning the sea of faces now filled with doubt and curiosity. She stepped forward, her voice steady but soft as she spoke. "I'm not here to prove anything to anyone but myself." Then, with a quiet confidence that silenced the room, she began to tell her story. Years ago, she had been a promising pianist, a student with dreams as bright as any. But life had other plans: family struggles, lost opportunities, and a harsh world that pushed her out of the spotlight before she could truly shine. The music she played tonight was born from those struggles, a reflection of every hardship she had endured in silence. The Maestro, who had once been her teacher, had recognized her talent but had never expected to see her again. As she spoke, the atmosphere shifted. The crowd's suspicion gave way to empathy. The Maestro stepped forward and nodded, confirming her story with a rare vulnerability. He admitted his own regret for having let such a talent slip away unnoticed for so long. Just when the tension seemed to break, the woman sat back at the piano and played once more, this time a powerful, original composition. The melody told a story of resilience and hope, drawing everyone into a moment of pure connection. But then, as the final note faded, an unexpected sound echoed from the wings. A second woman, identical to the first, emerged and joined her at the piano. The audience gasped, stunned by the revelation. Twins separated by circumstance, sharing a hidden legacy of music and pain. The room held its breath, caught between wonder and disbelief. The story wasn't over. This was only the beginning. The two women sat side by side at the piano, their hands moving in perfect harmony as they played a duet that seemed to weave together years of separation, pain, and hope. The audience watched in awe, feeling the raw emotion and unspoken bond between the twins. The music told a story far deeper than words ever could, a story of family, lost time, and the power of music to heal even the deepest wounds. After the final note, the room erupted into applause, not just for the performance, but for the journey the women had shared with them. Questions about the woman's past faded away, replaced by a new understanding of her strength and resilience. The Maestro, humbled and inspired, vowed to support them both, promising that their talents would no longer be hidden in the shadows. Backstage, the women smiled at each other, knowing this was just the start of a new chapter. They had faced doubts, fears, and the weight of years apart, but together, they had found a way to turn silence into song. This story reminds us all that true talent isn't always obvious, and sometimes the most powerful voices come from those we least expect. It teaches us the importance of patience, belief, and the courage to step forward even when the world seems to ignore us. As the lights dimmed and the audience slowly left the hall, one thing was clear. This simple woman, once ignored at a piano recital, had not only stunned a maestro, but had also opened hearts and changed lives forever. And in the quiet spaces between the notes, her story would continue to inspire anyone willing to listen.